Hello and welcome everyone to the Amateur Commentator. This is Somit here and I have with me Anshul. Hi Anshul.
I saw that.
So today we'll be talking about the Bahrain Grand Prix. This We'll be having a Formula One segment in the Amateur Commentator where we'll be discussing about all the races that are going to take place in Formula One, the qualification, the final race time, and on certain occasions we'll also be doing mid-season reviews and maybe certain special episodes on cars and drivers. On in today's episode, we are talking about the Bahrain Grand Prix. It has just finished. It has been a great night for Ferrari. So let's start with that. How did you find the race, Anshul?
I think it was what was expected in the heading up to the race. What was discussed in the preseason testing and the qualification that Ferrari will be very strong. And yes, Red Bull were also very close to them. But again, the
Yeah,
results are something which matters.
yeah. So it was tough luck for Red Bull. So let me just go through the classification once again. Charles Leclerc winning the race. Carlos Sainz was second. Lewis Hamilton got a lucky third. George Russell was fourth, and to cap up the rest of point, Kevin Magnussen had a great race. He finished fifth. Bottas finished sixth. The Alpine of Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso finished seventh and ninth, with Yuki Tsunoda finishing eighth and Zhau taking a solitary point in his first race for Alfa Romeo. Let's begin with the race itself, Anshul. Let's start from the first corner. It was a great start for Charles Leclerc, and that was what he was hoping. That was what everyone was saying throughout the qualification. That starting at pole, Leclerc needs to maintain that position in the first turn, and if he does that, he may be having an easier race. How do you describe the start?
I think it was a very good start for the top three drivers at least. The more, the driver who suffered the most, I think, was Bottas, and to a certain extent, Russell, and also Perez did also not got a very good start. But yeah, that's a very important point which you made, because traditionally what we have already seen is, the cars between Red Bulls and Ferrari are very close, and whoever is leading the pole position, if the driver is able to secure, the same position after the first corner in the races, it will be very important and the comfortable spot to sit into.
Uh, so yeah, I think Sainz throughout the qualification and free practice was saying that he was having some issues with the car. Yet he also did make a good start. In fact, he covered up pretty well. I think that may have blinded Perez a bit, due to which he lost a couple of places to Hamilton and to Magnussen in the first corner itself. And for
Yeah.
some inexplicable reason, we saw Bottas at 14th. We were not able to initially see what happened, and then he obviously made his way forward and finished at sixth. Uh, let's talk a bit about the pit strategies. Ferrari reacted pretty well to Red Bull's pit strategy. Red Bull were a bit proactive. What do you have to say? Did Max Verstappen lose a place or so because of that?
I think, see, when Red Bull were chasing Ferrari in this race, because they were running second and fourth before the race started, so it was important for them to be in the contention for the first position. So the first pit stop strategy for Red Bull, it was spot on, I would say. But heading into the second pit stop strategy, Perez was already running medium tires, and somehow Red Bull was performing much better on the mediums. But I thought Perez stopped a bit early, because the moment for the second pit stop, there were quite few laps, like more than 20 laps still remaining, almost 23 laps. And then they sent him out in a soft tire. So that was something which I am not sure was the right move. Seeing that the second stop for Verstappen, right, the outlap was very slow, and it was also evident in terms of the outburst which we were able to hear from the mic from Verstappen. I'm not sure whether that contributed to they were not able to perform the undercut, but if at that moment if Verstappen could have been able to undercut Leclerc, again assuming that Red Bull would have been able to finish the race, it might have been a very interesting race. I would feel.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of discussion around that outlap of Verstappen after the second pit stop. But there was the other view as well that even if he would have tried, he may not have been able to catch Leclerc.
Yeah.
Yes, he was a fraction of second here and there, but there were talks that the car was at his maximum at that point of time, and even if he would have tried, it would have in fact hampered his race quite earlier than whatever happened at that point of time. So yeah, it was an interesting battle between Leclerc and Max Verstappen, even before that second pit stop. Once they made their first pit stops, it was an opportunity for Verstappen to kind of catch Leclerc, and he made three attempts at those. Can you please
Yeah,
describe those three attempts? Yeah,
I think it was very thrilling to watch because this kind of duels we were seeing in bits and pieces in the last season. But when you have seen three battles in the first itself, I think it sets up a very interesting season going ahead. The important aspect here is, Verstappen was trying to overtake Leclerc in the first corner, and by that time Leclerc was there in the fourth corner, he was already hitting DRS. So that's why it was very difficult for Verstappen to hold on to that position. I think that was somewhere because of the nature of the track, and Leclerc was able to get DRS as soon as Verstappen was crossing him. Actually, was helping him to overtake back the position. So yeah, I think the way in which this year cars have been designed, it was evident that it is relatively much more easier to follow in close combat. But considering Ferrari and Red Bull are very closely matched together in terms of their car, uh, it will be difficult for the driver who is chasing the first one to completely overtake that person and go and outright win the race.
yeah. As we have often spoken about it, and I have always said that I feel Charles Leclerc has a good head on his shoulders. He seems kind of a pretty confident, cool person, and he has got good racing pedigree, and it showed in that
Yeah,
in the initial couple of times when Verstappen overtook him, he looked a bit out of place. He kept his calm, kept his cool, came to the fourth corner, overtook Verstappen again. But by the time the third attempt was made by Verstappen, Leclerc actually gave it him quite easily. He allowed Verstappen to make that overtake in the first corner, and then went ahead in the fourth corner, and there was daylight between them after that.
I
So
think
I
the
think,
first, the
yeah,
first time when Verstappen took him, it was a surprise for Leclerc.
absolutely,
But the
yeah,
second time he knew that as soon as the fourth corner will come, he will have the advantage of additional 15 to 18 kilometer because of the DRS. So that's why I think the second was something which was he was waiting for that thing to happen. But by the time Verstappen made his second move, I think it would have been a disaster for Red Bull, to continue doing that because it was too much on the tires
yeah.
for Verstappen, and his brakes were also overheating at that moment of
Yeah,
time.
he locked up his tire at
Yeah,
in one of those overtaking maneuvers also, I guess. So talking about locking up the tires and Red Bull's general uh, lack of speed in the corners, I think that's where Ferrari was kind of beating them. They have a good straight pace, but one thing that looked a bit problematic in the first race itself was Honda's engine. We saw Pierre Gasly's car catching fire. That actually made the race lot closer. Otherwise, Charles Leclerc would have
yeah.
won it quite easily. But then Verstappen's car stopped. Perez in the last corner had a mechanical failure. Uh, do you think Honda's engines are going to be a problem, or was it just this race?
I'm not sure if all the three issues are connected to the engine itself. But yes, there are some, because see, the issue with Perez, it was a engine lockdown. So that was something which was a bit concerning for me to see, because traditionally in the last season when we saw, from the reliability point of view, Honda engines were very good. I'm hoping that is also supposed to happen going forward, that they will be performing much better. It's just that maybe it's first race. It might take some time, to get accustomed to the new set of changes which are there for 2022. But I don't think so. Same thing to happen again. But saying that, Ferrari looked completely ready for the race from the starting.
Yeah, I think Ferrari looked the better car out of all those. Even the Ferrari engine was better. Talking about the Honda engine, Yuki Tsunoda finished in eighth, so he was the only driver who could finish the race. But it was not a bad result for him, considering the fact that considering where he started and what happened to other Honda powered cars. Uh,
Yeah.
so let's just talk about the three different kind of engines that we have of Mercedes, Honda, and Ferrari. At this point of time, the Ferrari driven cars and engines look much better than the others. But going forward, what are your views on this battle between Ferrari, Merc, and Red Bull?
I think what has helped Ferrari is in the last year when Mercedes and Honda, the Red Bull, they were fighting for the title championship. Ferrari, they knew that it was difficult for them to compete, and they actually were able to invest entire effort and the money in developing the new engine. That is clearly reflecting. Yes, Mercedes tried to redevelop their car and went ahead with additional attritions in the mid season as well last year. So probably that might have taken a bit out of how much they were able to invest in this season. Going ahead, I'm not sure whether that will happen this season or in the next season, but I'm sure Mercedes will come back and be competitive with likes of Ferrari and Honda. But at this particular moment of time, I'm not sure if Mercedes will be able to catch either Honda or the Ferrari engines. Even in states, where you have long straights for some circuits, or even with corners. Yes, corners has a lot to do with ground force, but Mercedes looks far behind as comparison to Honda and especially Ferrari at this moment.
Yeah, I think Lewis Hamilton and George Russell both are a bit concerned about their cars, and but I do feel that Mercedes will come back stronger. If not in the first few races, then at least after the summer break. But by then it may be too late for them, considering that we have way too many races before that, and constructor championship could be decided in the first half itself if this continues. But I do fear about the other powered teams for Aston Martin, for Williams, especially for McLaren, who just didn't look the part. Both Ricciardo and Lando Norris. Ricciardo had never been outqualified by a teammate in Bahrain. This was the first time. He didn't look in place, and this is continuing since last season as well. So that is something that I have my concerns about, because I think AlphaTauri looks good, Alpine looks good, and the Ferrari power teams also do look good. So it's the four Merc powered teams that I worry a bit about, especially Williams, Aston Martin, and McLaren. So now let's let's move to drivers. Who were the ones who impressed you the most in this race?
I think I was impressed by Magnussen after coming back to F1 after quite some time, and he was not expecting the seat, when the season started. But I think he drove very well. He actually outperformed his teammate. I know he's a much more experienced driver than Mick Schumacher, but coming into the F1 in then entirely a new setup. Yes, he has been with the Haas earlier, but this was a new car entirely different. So it was impressive to see Magnussen, in the qualification and also in the race at the same time. The second thing, I was impressed with Sainz. Although he had issues with his car, but he was able to keep pace with at least Verstappen and Perez. He was always there in their vicinity. And as soon as there was issue with, a car with Verstappen, we do not know. Even if there would not have been any issue, I still feel because of the red flag, the yellow flag at the later point of time, Sainz might still have given run for money to Verstappen for the second place. That might also have happened, and we will see that thing happening going ahead in the races where you do not have long straights. But I still feel for the circuits where there are long straights, especially with in the first corner, Red Bull might have a bit of advantage. But in an overall circuit level, I think Ferrari are looking much more comfortable and a better car.
Yeah, Ferrari do look much stronger than the others, and Leclerc also looked pretty decent, pretty good in the first race. For me, it was wonderful to watch Valtteri Bottas in a different car. He looked comfortable. He drove pretty well. It was not a good start for him, but he did make his way up till sixth. And also, I was quite impressed with Zhou. First race, he got his point. He didn't make a lot of mistakes. It was quite a good race for him. And as we spoke about Magnussen, that was brilliant to watch throughout the weekend. Actually, in the pre-practices, in qualifying, and then finally in the race, Magnussen was just a beast today. So, the Bahrain round is over. Now we'll be moving to Jeddah. So, what are your thoughts about Jeddah, and what are, if I may say, some predictions from you?
I think Jeddah is one of the strongest street circuits in the calendar. It was added last year only. Uh, I still feel, Red Bull and Ferrari will be pretty close here. It will depend a lot in terms of how they are able to strategize their pit stops, or what are the corners they need to look out for, because it's a narrow street circuit. Some corners are very fast, some corners they need to slow down quite a lot. We saw what happened to Verstappen in the qualifying season last year. The last corner, he was able to, before he crashed in the last corner, he was riding very fast. So that is something which will be interesting thing to watch out. But as we talked about Mercedes engine, I'm not sure whether they'll be competitive here, because we have not seen a lot of pace from all the Mercedes power engine, and Jeddah is a very fast street circuit, so they might be struggling in this thing. I'm a Red Bull fan, so I would hope that they are able to secure 2 out of 3 podiums. But it looks difficult, especially given Ferrari is performing well and Leclerc and Sainz both are trying very well.
Yeah, it has been a good start for the season for Ferrari, and I think we are doing it. We are doing our videos at an opportune moment. I would say, I've been a big Ferrari fan, had not had the greatest of time in the last, say, almost a decade, more than a decade now. But I'm hoping good things from Ferrari this time around. Charles Leclerc looks good. Carlos Sainz looks pretty good. I won't be surprised to see a 1-2 for Ferrari there. But yeah, let's hope that it's a good race, and that's kind of my prediction would be a top 2 podium finish for Ferrari.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think one thing important here would be also when we talk about Bottas or likes of Pierre Gasly or Magnussen. These are few drivers who will be competitive, and they have to score points to be there and thereabout for the constructor championship. Because if in a case where Mercedes is struggling, they might even fight them for third spot in the constructor championship. So that will be very important for likes of AlphaTauri or Haas, and for that matter Alfa Romeo. So it will be very important for these 3-4 teams.
Yeah, if Alpine and AlphaTauri are fighting with Merc for the third position, then Mercedes are having a bad year, and not a good time for it. It won't be a good viewing for Lewis Hamilton's fans as well. But we are hoping. I hope that he performs well as well. We would love to have a good season, good races, more competitive season as well. So hoping that everyone does well, everyone is safe in Jeddah. It's a difficult circuit. It's a challenging circuit. Hoping that. Yeah, so let's bring it to a close. Thank you all for watching this. Request you to kindly like, share, subscribe our content. We'll be doing this throughout the season. We will be having a qualification review and then a race review at the end of each race. So stay tuned, stay safe. Thank you.